as 99% of the people in India who come from middle class, their background starts with working parents in some government or quasi-government jobs, like most of us. Um, Handling somebody else's money comes with a huge responsibility.
Who are you doing this for?
Yeah, for myself, of course. And I was always motivated towards being a big person. We don't build cool business at all. India does not reward coolness. India rewards utility. Flipkart has been a behemoth because Flipkart gave you cheaper rates reliably at your home.
तो आप इंडिया के लिए फिर बिल्ड कर रहे हो या यूएस के लिए बिल्ड कर रहे हो?
India के लिए. And the amount of stress that I have gone through to be where I am at this point of time, and the point I am standing today in 2013, I think my ROI is extremely low. They are not optimizing for returns at that point of time. They are optimizing for not thinking about returns at that point of time. To identify ways to become really big is, I think, what consumes a man completely. Which means I don't have time for my kids, I don't have time for my wife, I don't have time for my parents, I don't have time for my hobbies, I don't have time for my self-interest, I don't have time for my self-development, I don't have time for my body.
सचिन तेंदुलकर को हसल नहीं लगता होगा कि यार मतलब वो सुबह उठ के ना वो नेट प्रैक्टिस करना है और फिर उसके बाद विराट कोहली को अब वो बट ही थिंक्स ब्रीथ्स एंड लिव्स क्रिकेट. Hi guys, today we have Vardhan with us. He's a co-founder of an HR SaaS platform by the name of Tortoise. So welcome Vardhan.
Thanks.
And thanks a lot for taking out time.
Yes.
So Vardhan, basically सबसे पहले तो मुझे ये समझना है कि why Tortoise as a name, and then उसके बाद maybe a little bit about the company as well.
Definitely. So we wanted to not invent a new word
अच्छा.
when choosing a name of a company, and the company that we founded before this version of our current platform was based on save to buy.
अच्छा.
So we wanted something that signifies that there's good in waiting, and the famous story of tortoise and rabbit. And so there we got the word tortoise, and we were lucky that we got .pro domain. Otherwise, in the common nouns, you don't get any kind of domain. So we were lucky, so we got tortoise.pro, and that's what prompted us to take Tortoise as a name.
Okay, so this is a version 2.0 of the company, or?
Yeah, we pivoted 6-7 months ago, and we realized that what we were trying to do was asking people to save money before they can buy things like mobile phones or expensive aspirational purchases like holidays as well. And very similar to taking money and keeping in your recurring deposit in the bank. However, the trust that is required for you to get money from people at large is something which only a bank can do, or a brand like an Amazon or an Apple can do themselves. So there we thought that it will be too expensive for us to build that brand or build that trust, and so we pivoted into what we are doing today. And right now, we are building a benefits platform where we are bringing in new kind of benefits for employees, as well as bringing in a new way to present the same kind of benefits to the HR.
Can you throw some more, मतलब
Yeah.
because हम लोग भी HR वाले स्पेस में ही है,
बिल्कुल,
but
बिल्कुल,
लेकिन समझना चाहूंगा कि what is this benefit you are talking, because mostly जब भी लोग employee benefits की बात करते हैं तो फिर generally health insurance आता है या फिर उसके बाद वो retirement plans आते हैं.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. No, so I think this is an area where we have the principal agent problem. Basically problem ये है कि जिसके लिए सॉल्व करना है वो empowered नहीं है उसको सॉल्व करने के लिए. So the benefit that we have started with, so we have right now 2 benefits that we have available on our platform. The first benefit is the mobile phone benefit. हम सब लोग मोबाइल फोन यूज करते हैं और हम उस मोबाइल फ़ोन को काम के लिए यूज़ करते हैं अधिकतर। आप घर पे चाचा दादी से कितना बात करते हो, है ना? वो अधिकतर कलीग से बात करते हैं, मेल चेक करते हैं, व्हाट्सएप पे हम मीटिंग्स वो करते हैं। अभी आपने और मैंने इस काम के लिए कितनी बार कॉल और व्हाट्सएप पे किया है। हम ये अपनी पर्सनल डिवाइस से क्यों करते हैं?
ट्रू,
हमें ऑफिशियल डिवाइस से करना चाहिए।
करेक्ट।
And income tax department was kind enough to say that official mobile device is a tax-free thing for employees. However, for employers, going through that whole loop of buying mobile phone and adjusting CTC is very cumbersome. So our platform makes it easy for employers to offer tax-free mobile phones to people, and they adjust the salary accordingly. So which means employers don't have to spend anything, and they don't have to do a lot of pain on accounting or this thing. Our platform takes care of it, and effectively you can get like 30%, 20% rebate effectively on your next purchase of mobile phone, which will be official mobile phone of the company.
So जैसे लोग कार प्रोवाइड करते हैं,
Exactly, it's
अच्छा,
similar to car lease program, but is applicable for far wider number of people, because car lease, I've been told by some VP of sales at a car leasing company, is the penetration is less than 2%. What we are doing, the penetration would be 100%,
oh,
because everybody uses mobile phones and everybody can benefit from this irrespective of car. The problem with car is it's a very very big ticket size item, and it requires you to actually stick with the company for 3-4 years to realize those benefits. People these days don't want to take that kind of a decision. So
लेकिन सेकेंड मोबाइल फोन, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल व्हेन आई वाज आल्सो एम्प्लॉयड, उस समय ऑब्वियसली मैं सेल्स में था, तो फिर
आपको मिलता था।
हाँ, तभी फोन तो मिलता ही था, लेकिन आई फाउंड इट क्वाइट पेनफुल टू बी ऑनेस्ट, टू कैरी टू फोन्स और टू मेंटेन टू फोन्स, सो टू से। तो फिर आई मीन, डोंट यू थिंक दैट,
you don't have to maintain two phones.
मतलब
So next, I mean, for example, you might be on iPhone 13, you want to buy a new iPhone 15. You can buy it through our platform and in your company's name. The company will buy it for you and reduce your salary by that amount. So if it is 75,000 rupees, the company will reduce your CTC by 75,000 rupees, which in your hand would have been 50,000 rupees of cash. Instead, the company will give you the phone worth 75,000 rupees. So now you have that
अच्छा,
phone, you can use it for official purpose. It does not matter if you also use it for your own calls for some time of the day. The company doesn't prohibit that. Most company won't prohibit that until unless there's a if you're working in a very very compliant sort of client side kind of a place where everything is logged, which is very very small number of jobs. In most places, for example, you also use your laptop to pay, for example, your electricity bills or book my show movie. Nobody minds that. Same here. So you just have to maintain one mobile phone.
but then would I have to return that mobile phone once I quit?
No, you don't have to. So the company will transfer in your name when you're leaving the organization, and that is also taken care by our platform.
Oh,
So our platform takes care of complete process of getting you a official device, and then when you want to upgrade it, even if you're in a company, you want to upgrade it, you want to take this mobile phone in your name, sell it off because you have effectively paid for it, and get the value. So we cover the transfer of ownership as well.
and which is the second benefit which you cover?
The second is LTA.
अच्छा, okay,
Everybody has heard of LTA.
yeah.
How many people have claimed it?
एक्चुअली मैं बोल देता था कि मेरे कैश में ही ऐड कर दो, और फिर उसके बाद, क्योंकि वो एलटीए साला बहुत दिन बाद आता था।
No, so LTA is basically leave and travel allowance,
Yeah.
and it's available to almost everyone in India. The procedure of claiming it is something which is slightly complex, and as I said, nobody is incentivized to solve for it. It's free money on the table. The government has made the provision. Now there are some companies which says that it will be given post facto. If you take a trip, they will reimburse that amount to you. It will be tax free. But today, most companies simply provide that as one of the provisions, and they tax everything until unless you bring a proof. The problem is that employees don't know how to claim that. And we, for example, we spent 1 lakh rupees recently on the trip, and this is just the conveyance. The LT doesn't cover hotel and shopping and taxis and all that. So we spent overall on flights with 6 of us: me, my dad, mom, my wife, and 2 kids. We spent more than 1 lakh rupees on that. I can get 30,000 rupees right away. How do I get it? Nobody knows. So we've created a small, unique feature in our platform where any employee can go fill a form, which is very intuitive, and at the end download a copy of LTA, compliant calculation, and give it to their CA or company CA or company payroll team, and deduct that amount from their Form 12BB, which right now in December will be coming out. So you save that money. So that's the second
So,
line.
so Tortoise moved from save now, buy later concept, which was directed directly to the consumer, to now becoming a SaaS platform, which is primarily a B2B,
B2B.
right?
Yeah.
So this whole paradigm shift, and I know that in a B2B business ka dynamics is very, very, very different
Yeah.
compared to a B2C business, right?
Yeah. So it was a tough decision. We tried our best to remain in the comfort zone, but there are certain learnings that come out of any experiment, anything you do. We were doing Tortoise for more than 1.5 years, so there were a lot of learnings that we got from the consumer psychology, and the best way to utilize that was to get into the product in our. I mean, of course, there are infinite permutation and combinations possible from these learnings, but it it appealed to us, to the team that we work on that, because it was too good to be true.
Hmm.
I mean, to the right person, they can effectively save up to 50% of some of these the same. Now remember, our focus was mobile on previous company as well,
Hmm.
and this company as well starts with mobile phones, with this thing. So we thought that this 20-30% effective discount that we can get for people immediately is something which is a great benefit. If we were not able to get people to save money for that, for 5-10% extra benefit on that, maybe we can get people to simply use us for 30% instant discount.
Sure.
So that was the
Okay.
spark there.
So, एक चीज समझिए वर्धन, सो दिस इज अ स्लाइटली कंट्रोवर्शियल क्वेश्चन, बट अभी आज की डेट में देयर इज अ स्कूल ऑफ थॉट आइदर फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टर्स और फॉर दैट मैटर आई मीन various founders also of large platforms who start so obviously off late what we have seen is that there is a lot of media bashing happening with connected with startups, especially because of these layoffs, वो founders पैसा खा जा रहे हैं, etc., etc., and there are people who start judging companies, especially, who start pivoting too soon, right? So did this thought cross your mind that यार मतलब maybe we can uh, try this whole hypothesis of save now buy later for a slightly longer period of time instead of pivoting right away, and that too a complete paradigm shift?
Got it. No, luckily, we erred on the side of waiting too long, because we did this for more than 1.5 years, almost 2 years, which is not a quick pivot. So we burned a lot of money which we would have saved if we would have learned the signals, or signals are there, but the problem with being an entrepreneur or being a founder with a product is that there's a very thin line which separates working on data and working on instincts. Okay, and you have to look at data, but if data is telling you all the story, then somebody would have done it already. There's a certain leap of faith that you have to take, and those leap of faith convert into a big story, a big outcome, and more often than not these leap of faiths go wrong. So because they are not statistically significant beliefs, and so therefore we waited, and we gave it a lot of time, so nobody can question that we did not do save now buy later. We are the pioneer of that. If you search or if you talk about save now buy later anywhere in the world, our name will come.
Okay.
So we gave it a lot of time. When we are also fortunate enough to have investors um, that are very clear, very supportive of what we are doing. As a person, as 99% of the people in India who come from middle class, people of India who are in tech sector and earning, doing well, their background starts with working parents and some government or quasi-government jobs, like most of us. Um, Handling somebody else's money comes with a huge responsibility. Right now, I'm drawing a salary for the last 3 years, which is less than 50% of what I was drawing in 2014, 2015. And it does impact the lifestyle and aspirations. I don't own a house. I'm doing this because I believe that this can be built. And I don't think my investor or anybody who knows us can question our. It's not fun on easy money, which is what I think, which people might suspect. It's a very high cost money, which comes at the cost of losing a certain percentage of my company and losing a very otherwise a very comfortable life I would have, you know, chosen. And if we are doing this, it is for a reason, for a belief. And I think these kind of actions lead to that the outcomes that are not otherwise straightforward.
Who are you doing this for?
uh, yeah, for myself, of course. It'll be very, uh, it'll be, pardon, but it'll be bullshit if I say that I'm doing it for someone else. Um, I think most of us grow up with certain visions of what we are, and the whole life goes into chasing that difference between what you think you should be and what you are right now. And I think I'm a great, knowledgeable, wise person who has a lot of money, and which I'm not right now. So I'm just trying to cover that distance. And obviously, as we grow older, uh, you also think about, leaving some legacy or some mark, having built something that meant something. Um, and I'm still chasing that. And I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to chase that, because when you're young, it is easy to do. You don't have responsibilities. I now have two kids. I have aging parents, and it's difficult to take that decision. But I'm doing it because I think that this should be done, and I can probably achieve more loftier outcomes out of this whole exercise.
Okay, great. So, I mean, now that you have touched upon the fact that you are, I mean, and I feel that भले ही लोग, as you rightly mentioned, that कितना भी लोग bullshit कर लें, but a lot of it circles around what your passion is or what is it you are looking for, I mean, for yourself, because there is a certain kind of need which you need to satisfy for yourself. And a lot of people connect it with monetary, but I think it is far beyond that.
Yeah, of course.
Right, otherwise, as you rightly mentioned, कि 50% of your 14 or 15 का salary आप क्यों अभी drop करोगे?
Definitely.
So I want to go back a little bit with regards to your life now, because I believe that what the kind of entrepreneur you become today, I mean, or the kind of the way in which you look at your career or future also stems from the kind of value system you brought up with. So if you could throw a little more light in terms of how was a childhood, how are you raised, what kind of family background you come from, and what makes what is the history of Vardhan?
Definitely. So, so I was born and brought up in Jabalpur, which is I think one of the four major cities in Madhya Pradesh. And my dad is an ex State Bank of India employee, and my mom is a homemaker. And as I think as normal, 1990s family it can be. My grandparents were there in the same city, and my Dadaji was a professor of mathematics. So the whole environment was very academic, and looking back, I think all of those things have put a lot of ingredient into what I am today as a person. Uh, Value of academics as the highest point, but still my dad pursued his passion. He left his job to do a we are Jains. I've been told that while we don't belong to anything, legally in the caste system, but we're as close to Baniyas as possible. We are businessmen. Jains are businessmen, and yeah. So making money while academics at the top is something which goes naturally. And my dad also left his SBI job when he was not due for retirement for at least 15 to 18 years time. And looking back, I think all of those decisions has also given me the courage that you can always strive for a little more risky path as long as your basics are covered. So my wife is also in a job. She comes from Delhi. She's also a Gen, incidentally, because we met in college. And I think we got lucky. We both have same value for money and same value for rituals and customs. So it makes life far more easier. Um, as easy it can get. I mean, whatever the level that is. And I did my engineering and I did my economics, where I met my wife in Masters of Economics, which was 1/10 the cost of 1/20th the cost of what normal MBA would be, and gave me the same kind of job in Citibank. Um, and that's where I started my career with in Citibank as a risk analyst or data modeling data scientist for credit card division of US. I've been doing ML since 2010, so that gave me insights into how data and all these technology works in the large picture of the world. And I was always motivated towards being a big person, someone who has everything that is shown in literature or in movies as a person who's successful. And so I thought that my dad has tried that. Job definitely is a very measured, very straightforward outcome. This thing, which I think today is a wrong evaluation at that point of time. A job can be extremely fulfilling if it is something that you can enjoy and continue to do. So if I go back 15 years, I would probably tell myself that look, Citibank is good enough for next 15 years. You don't have to jump around. But yeah, I think equally rewarding is this freedom to pursue, which is offered in this unique time in India in 2020s and 2010s, that we have the money and we have the environment that supports it. I've also then done. Um, I've built a ride sharing company in 2013. I sold it off. It did not do well, but I sold it off for paper money worth a few $1 million. Did not make actual money at that point of time, and so therefore there's always this extreme desire to get back and build something. I've tried it multiple times and I've failed to create that huge value for 2 3 times now. But in the process, as I said, my dad also made sure that you can take all the risk as far as the bases are covered. So I always made sure that if I'm failing on something, I go back to a well-paying job. So I've led Udacity in India, which is a venture-funded tech platform from the US. I also held a leadership position for TripAdvisor in India, and last I was with FamPay, which is a teenage banking startup. And throughout those stints, I made sure that my finances are covered. Right now with Tortoise, we are pretty well funded from the point of view of that our our burn rate has a life of at least next 3 years, so we don't have to worry about money at this point of time. And I'm building this with complete conviction and a sense of safety that comes with venture funding. Yeah, this is the journey so far.
So this is your third company which you're building, right? I would say that Tortoise One and Tortoise Two
Yeah.
would be two companies. I mean, so to say,
Yeah,
different businesses, but I mean, let me call, because 0 to 1 का दोनों में journey है, right?
yeah,
तो so आपने जब पहली कंपनी चालू की थी, you mentioned that it didn't do too well. I mean, you ran it for what, 3.5 years?
yeah.
Okay. And
More than 3 years.
so how have you evolved as an entrepreneur? I mean, during these, this is the third stint. So how have you evolved as a person and as an entrepreneur through those learnings?
Yeah. So first thing is that it feels so strange and so wild that has jumped into entrepreneurship without having any idea of what it entails. And I think, as most of us do, our first attraction in anything is the cover of the book, or the trailer. You don't know the internal things, you don't know the details. You jump into it with some mad level of false conviction that you build on the basis of hearsay or reading Times of India or watching movies or something, reading about Silicon Valley and TechCrunch and all. And I think I did the same mistake. I jumped into building something without understanding the realities of how the business should be built. And the sad part is that for most people, venture funding fuels um, that kind of practice, which I believe statistically works, because the person to disrupt an industry would not be an insider most of the times. So you have to keep taking bets. Recently, a Bloom Venture report came where they said that the three companies out of the 20 companies that gave them return, out of 100 plus companies that they invested in, only 20 companies gave them return, and three of them returned the whole portfolio. So the power law has a power law of its own. So so that means that in order to reach those three companies, they had to invest in these 100 companies. For those 80 people, it didn't work out, but they had to invest in those 80 people. So this is how venture capital works. Uh, I think the sad part is that when people start getting into that funding equal to validation on their maturity or their understanding of the business. And your question on evolution, I think that has changed a lot. I believe that, at least in India, we don't build cool business at all. India does not reward coolness.
Hmm.
India rewards utility. Flipkart has been a behemoth because Flipkart gave you cheaper rates reliably at your home. Take any example of a successful, really successful company in India. You will realize that it is not about finding friends easily online. It was built in the US and then India adopted it. The business model still doesn't work very well. So, an Indian company like a ShareChat or any social media company in India has not really taken off. Obviously, it can be too soon to comment on whether they'll become big or not. Which means that if you look at the successful companies in India, you need not look at just startups. You should look at all the TCS and Infosys of the world. And what they've done is they've provided high quality labor at much lesser cost than it was available. So the evolution that has happened, I believe, is basically going back to the roots, understanding what a business is. Business is creating value at a cost that is lower than the current cost of the same value that is being given, or increasing the convenience. These are the few basic things which people reward. As I think my favorite um, saying, I don't know how accurate this is, but because over time I've evolved it probably and customized it for my use. But I think Jeff Bezos said that we don't concentrate on things that change, we concentrate on things that do not change.
Hmm.
And three things will never change. People will want cheaper goods, faster delivery, and a wider catalog of goods to choose from. And this will never change. And so Amazon will keep innovating on improving this. So I think the same values are there for every entrepreneur. And if we can keep concentrating on building things that can increase either the convenience or reduce the cost, or one of these parameters that matter for people in that segment, I think there's a business to be built.
Hmm.
And that's what I think now we understand, and now I respect Indian businesses far more. Um, in a way, it has become much less sexier for me, much more fundamental. And I think if somebody asked me today who's the cool folks you would want to quote, I would not at all talk about any Silicon Valley founders, because the businesses that they build is very different from the businesses that we build, and they are amazing masters of their craft. But if I am sitting in India and trying to build a business in India, then my cool guy has to be Narayan Murthy. Then my cool guy has to be Nitin Kamath. It cannot be Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk.
There is a very famous क्या मतलब जैसे for example I was just hearing one of the podcast of Kunal Shah as well. I mean, and he talks about the fact that if you have to build a B2B or a SaaS platform, a lot of Indian SaaS ecosystem is selling mostly to US clients.
Right.
So because Indian clients are not ready to pay that kind
Absolutely.
of subscription or
Yeah,
money, right?
yeah.
So तो आप इंडिया के लिए फिर बिल्ड कर रहे हो या यूएस के लिए बिल्ड कर रहे हो?
इंडिया के लिए.
बट फिर आपके हिसाब से आई मीन सो aren't you also trying to change the वो fixed pattern which has been going on?
No, so there's this company called Zenefits. Have you heard of it?
Zenefit, no.
It's one of my all-time favorite companies, in top 3 names on innovation of business model. So while they are a paid product now, and they became a paid product sometime in their journey, but when they started, and I don't remember precisely when, probably 2014 or 15. Zenefits was a HRMS software built in the US by Parker Conard, one of the founders there, which offered free HRMS software to people, but which required companies to switch. I think one of the fixed investments that the employees have to do, I think it's called 401k or something, um, to their providers, where they make a cut. So they basically took a very commoditized product, build the best version of it because they were good in making software, and they said, look, we'll make it free and we'll make money from another transactional margin that will anyway go to some place. So whether you are buying a mutual fund from company A or company B, or whether you're buying an iPhone from shop A or shop B, you will get an iPhone. So you don't, until the price is same, you don't mind buying it from A versus B. And what if a Uber ride to take you to that shop is made free
Correct.
by the vendor who's selling you the,
Yeah.
so that increases the business.
True.
So basically, if a shop in the market starts offering free Uber rides to buy an iPhone at the same price as the market, then everybody will rush to them, because you're saving at one point of the thing. And so this is what Zenefits did with HRMS software, and this is what we think we'll be able to pull off in India. I don't think people will pay for our SaaS, but if I can shift an existing transactional behavior through that free offering because of better user experience, I will be able to make money on that transaction value, which is standardized. So I don't have to charge anyone anything extra. I'll just take away a standard transaction from point A to my own books.
All right. You mentioned one thing about if you have to go back to your city days. I mean, and you have to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
तो आप 15 साल बाद अभी भी सिटी में बैठे रहते. Is that correct?
Most likely, yeah.
So then what happens to the Vardhan version of that time who wanted to make it big in life, right? Or is that your definition of big in life?
So the reason I say this, and this does not come suddenly because we were talking about it, but because I keep analyzing these things, as most of us, uh, when we take walks, when we think about problems, and so some of my friends have chosen that path, and so I can see how they've, how their life has turned out to be, and the grass is greener in the other side always. So I come with that pinch of salt that, I'm just romanticizing that idea of stability, but a few of my friends have continued to be in the same company for the last 15 years. In fact, 3 of my best friends have continued to be in the same company since 2007 when they left their engineering or masters in 2010, same as me. So 13, 14, 15 years, same job, which now has given them the stability because they are now the master of the craft that they are in. Look, I'm doing HR SaaS. I have no background in HR SaaS. I have no background in any of these things which I'm doing at this point of time, which is also a bad thing or a good way to find businesses. But these guys know their craft. They have honed it for the last more than a decade. And they are with large company with very decent pay. And they spend a lot of time with their kids and their wife and their parents. They have home, they have stability, they have decent bank balance. And I believe that that's a huge success.
Hmm.
And and the amount of stress that I have gone through to be where I am at this point of time, and the point I'm standing today in 2013, I think my ROI is extremely low. Extremely low. And so, from that point of view, if nothing changes in the next 2 3 years' time, then as any equity investor or anyone who backtracks their decision would say, यार इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया होता तो पैसा बच जाता, kind of statement. So I would categorize that statement into that wishful thinking. I'm sure that if I have a time machine today and go back and tell this to my younger self, my younger self will still discard it and do the same thing as I ended up doing. But these are the things that we romanticize about the path that we have not taken.
Okay, all right. I have a very different view here, but ठीक है, मतलब I will go by what I mean, because I think it's about opinions.
You're right,
Because
yeah.
I mean, and opinions are never opinions can be a fact right for somebody. Opinions can be wrong for
Oh, you're right,
somebody.
and this is also about time as a dimension as well. So maybe in the December of 2013, this is my opinion. I'm very prone to changing my opinion on the basis of new experiences or new facts.
December 2023 you mean?
Yeah.
13 आपने बोला.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, नहीं
2023,
नहीं.
yeah.
But लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी अब आपके सामने वही 14 साल पहले का सचिन बंसल भी है, राइट?
हाँ हाँ.
वही
But
मतलब
why to cherry pick the most successful entrepreneur in India?
तो आप भी जब आप पिक कर रहे हो, आई मीन जो स्टेबल जनता है उसमें से मैं भी जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मेरा एक कॉलीग है, वो फ्रेंड है, उसके डैड 30-32 साल किसी कोऑपरेटिव बैंक या आपके डैड भी
हाँ हाँ
नेशनलाइज्ड
हाँ,
बैंक में थे.
SBI, हाँ हाँ.
तो मैं हमेशा यही सोचता रहता हूँ कि अब हो सकता है कि उनके एस्पिरेशंस ही वैसे थे, बट लेकिन मुझे हमेशा यही लगा रहता है कि आई मीन द बिगेस्ट रिस्क विच अ पर्सन कैन टेक इज नॉट टू टेक अ रिस्क. बिकॉज आई मीन अगर जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आज की डेट में बहुत लोगों को लगता है यार एफडी इज द बेस्ट सोल्यूशन, बट अब आई कैन से इट विथ कन्विक्शन दैट्स नॉट द फैक्ट. आई मीन वो एफडी का तुम नेट रेट ऑफ रिटर्न देख लोगे तो फिर यू आर लूजिंग मनी एवरी ईयर, बट हाइपोथेटिकली दे आर गेनिंग मनी एवरी ईयर. एंड तो फिर बट वो भी मैं वो बोल सकते हैं यार उसने स्टॉक मार्केट में पैसा लगाया था, फिर उसके बाद उसका ये पैसा ठप हो गया.
So I think Naveen, what we are looking at is the probabilities.
हाँ,
If you take, say for example, you did your post graduation or graduation, whatever you did.
हाँ पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन. हाँ
आपके पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन एटलीस्ट 10 साल से ऊपर हो चुके होंगे, आई एम अज्यूमिंग.
हाँ हाँ 17 साल. बट मैं आई एम ग्लैड दैट अब मैं थोड़ा यंग दिखता हूँ.
तो आप 17 साल पहले आपके क्लास के 50 लोग होंगे आपकी क्लास में, 50 से ज्यादा होंगे, 50-100 उस बैच में, मान लीजिए 100-150 लोग होंगे. उन सब लोगों का करियर आप देखिए, यू आर अ फाउंडर योरसेल्फ, यू हैव टेकन अ रिस्क, है ना, एंड यू आर डूइंग वेल. But if you look at
not doing well, but yeah. Yeah,
I would assume that. So my point is that if you look at the career graph of these 150 folks, most of them would have joined a corporate, and I mean entrepreneurship is a very less percentage of people which do that. So and so if you look at the trajectory of these people, you will see that they are doing well in life.
Yeah,
they're doing reasonably well, far better than a corporate bank employee. far better than that, है ना, on an average.
अच्छा,
ऑन एन एवरेज अगर 17 साल की नौकरी कर चुके हैं तो सबका 60 70 80 के ऊपर पैकेज होगा एटलीस्ट. बहुत सारे लोगों की वाइफ भी कमा रही होंगी, पूरा ओवरऑल 1-1.5 करोड़ के ऊपर कमा रहे होंगे उस घर पे,
आराम
है
से,
ना.
हाँ.
और उनके पास घर होंगे, गाड़ी होंगी, बच्चे अच्छे स्कूल में जा रहे होंगे, मम्मी पापा की हेल्थ कवरेज अच्छी होगी, और मोस्ट ऑफ देम वुड बी लीडिंग अ वेरी वेरी fulfilling life, which was not the case when my dad and your dad must have been working. They were also leading a very fulfilling life, but not in the material sense, because उस समय का ज़माना कुछ और था. लेकिन वही मैं अब entrepreneurs के बारे में बोलता हूँ, क्योंकि I am in the entrepreneurial circle since 2013. मेरे कई दोस्त हैं जो 2013 से ट्राई कर रहे हैं. उनमें से I can tell you that only 1 or 2% people have been able to achieve that kind of a high that you see in things that get coverage in this thing. Similarly, to your point, every single person who invests in FD ends up making 1 or 2% more than the inflation in India. Thankfully, our growth has enabled better interest rates on the FDs, unlike say in the US where you don't get that kind of money.
नहीं, कहाँ बेटर कहाँ बनता है? मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ कि आप नुकसान बना रहे हो. तो अब नेट ऑफ टैक्स में बोल रहा हूँ.
हाँ हाँ, नेट ऑफ टैक्स आप इन्फ्लेशन के आसपास ले रहे हो.
मैं इन्फ्लेशन तो कम ही बनता है, बट फिर भी ठीक है. आई मीन, या
आई एम अ सेबी रजिस्टर्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजर.
हाँ, अच्छा, हाँ.
For personal interest.
Okay.
I'm that guy in your office where you come for all tax advice and
हाँ,
everything.
हाँ.
So FD is not bad.
हाँ.
It works for most people. I'll
Okay.
tell you why.
Sure.
It has worked. My portfolio today consists of 70% fixed income assets.
Okay.
Only 30% in equity.
Hmm.
You know why?
Why?
The reason is not because I don't understand these risk and rewards. The reason is I am taking a huge risk already in my life. Correct. Through entrepreneurship. Correct. I don't need to take more risk in my existing chota mota portfolio as well.
True.
So I thought here I'll maintain that. Even if I get 7% post-tax return on fixed income asset, which my PMS has promised me, it is good to go for me. So the reason is that I think for most people who opt for FD, the reason it works for them, and the reason which you might be missing in that opinion, is that they are not optimizing for returns at that point of time. They are optimizing for not thinking about returns at that point of time. And they probably are focusing on getting that increment that will give them extra value, which will beat inflation. Versus a person who needs to. How many people actually make money in equity trading? Less than 4% is what Nitin Kamath said.
बिल्कुल.
Mutual funds में लोग बनाते हैं,
हाँ,
अच्छा बनाते हैं.
Yeah.
On an average, mutual funds have given 13%, 14% returns.
Yeah.
But that takes a lot of discipline. अधिकतर लोग वो डिसिप्लिन छोड़ देते हैं. सोचना पड़ता है उसके बारे में. कितने लोग इस SIP करके छोड़ देते हैं इंडिया में? बहुत कम लोग. हाँ. So I think that FD वाला जनता है ना, has played a game which looks like they are losing, but they have actually won, because from that time that they've not wasted on markets and understanding कि यार क्या hot चल रहा है, they probably have gotten 1 more or 2 more promotions, which their colleagues who were invested in. I have a few friends who are very big on equity. In fact, one of my friend has left his job in a multinational bank, very high-paying job, to do equity trading all full time. He's today at 1/6 of his potential salary. He would have been 1/6. It's not even. It's very difficult. And there are a lot of cases like that. Nitin Kamath just, I think, posted like 6 months ago or something that 1% people made money who do trading. So yeah, that's the fact.
So again, matlab, this is a topic which I can speak at least 4 to 5 hours for. But US economy को अगर आप देखोगे,
Yes.
it's far more risk taking compared to what an Indian economy is. I mean, वहाँ पे जो credit भी है, I mean, I'm sure the credit card penetration, the whole discipline of investment versus taking credit is far more risky compared to. That's why subprime का तो पूरा issue ही उसके ऊपर पे based था. So obviously wherever if there is higher risk, there will be much higher probability of failure, right?
Right.
लेकिन मतलब मेरे ख्याल से आज की डेट में व्हेन यू हैव टू क्रिएट और पुश अ कंट्री टुवर्ड्स ग्रोथ, या तो तुम बोलो कि मतलब आई एम नॉट चेजिंग माई सेल्फ टू बिकम दैट टॉप क्वार्टाइल इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड and I can continue the my merry ways in terms of wo. But if you want to be progressive, you'll have to. I mean, you can't be in your comfort zone. So
Right.
I heard this famous saying that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Right.
But
Right.
a lot of people will end up dying, and but if you don't take that plunge, nobody will go to heaven.
Of course.
तो so मेरा वो वहां से वो
नहीं,
philosophy
बिल्कुल
आता है.
बिल्कुल.
So
I'll tell you honestly. So, by the way, you touched two things. I've done my engineering, but then I did my master's in economics. So, when you talk about economics and risk and all these things, it's home for me. The second, my master's thesis was actually subprime crisis. Okay, in my master's. So, these are topics which I can, to a certain degree, talk about with some knowledge. But I'll not talk about these topics. I'll tell you a different perspective. US has been able to create an aura around itself because it's the biggest economy, it's the noisiest economy, and it has the best media possible. Anything big in media, any big star, anything big that happens, the president of any country which is more famous than any other president and heads of the country is the US president. And we know about White House, but we don't know about any other home of head of the state anywhere in the world. And so all these things create an aura that hides a very, very important fact. You know, what are the countries that are some of the that are offering some of the best um, lifestyle measured from economic prosperity and tax rates and happiness index and so on? It's not US. These are the silent companies, silent countries that has achieved this feat hundreds of years ago, and they're now lying silent. It's almost boring to talk about them. I'm talking about Scandinavian countries. I'm talking about some of the richest European nations. There's no there's no scandalous thing happening there which can take the attention of the whole world. People there live amazing, beautiful, stable life. They don't have to work a lot. They work less than an average. Indian workers are one of the most highly, stressed workers in the world.
Mhm.
So are Americans, Japanese, but European workers are not like that. I've been told, it might be wrong, it's a second-hand knowledge, but they take good breaks. In fact, some of the countries offer sleeping breaks in between. They don't work on the weekends and they take their holidays liberally and they make a lot of money. Their healthcare is very beautiful in most of the nations. I've heard that the UK healthcare has some stress points, but they are offering free education and free healthcare to everyone. The tax rates might be high, but so are the incomes. People enjoy their life. They have all the amenities. They don't have Hollywood movies coming out of their nations. Uh, you might have heard very less number of good European movies. I remember only one, Let the Right One In. It was a semi-horror movie coming out of some Scandinavian, Denmark maybe. I don't remember the name. That's all. But these are the places where people are leading a very fulfilled life. These are also the places where you will find a lot of athletes coming out of, Nobel laureates coming out of. Why? Because these are the places where people can pursue their passion. And so if you stop romanticizing hustle, you'll certainly realize that there's a whole world which has achieved that level of this thing many hundreds years ago. I've been told that there's this nation around Switzerland, some place I've got. It has it has the data of economic indexes for the last 600, 700 years, and for the last 600 years, I think there is 400 families who were the richest in that small island nation who are still the richest after 600 years ago. Well, the thing is that these people have figured out the
Yeah.
shit long back,
Yeah.
and they're not making podcasts or writing articles on that. They're there. They are the I don't know if Rockefeller is not European, but there are some famous European wealthy families who you will not hear about as much as you will hear about uh, the Bill Gates and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world or the Elon Musk of the world. But these are the people who are living that life forever. And so,
So, so what is it you are what will give you that satisfaction? 5 years, so 5 years hence, मान लीजिए अगर आपको देखना है कि टॉर्टोइस किस मुकाम पे पहुंच गया हो, या फिर उसके बाद लेट्स से when will you say that I want to hang my boots now?
I don't want to hang my boots as such. I just want to make sure that I don't feel rushed. That's it. There's no economic outcome I'm chasing. There's no this many. I used to have that target. By the way, I and my wife Surbi created a Google Sheet back in 2011. I think we were just about to get married in 2012. In 2011, we made a list, made a Google Sheet on how much money if we start making within the family, we'll be truly financially independent. And our criteria is simple. Our kids should be attending good school. We planned for 2 kids back when we were getting married, and we were big on holidays. In fact, we didn't need a honeymoon because we were girlfriend and boyfriend before we got married. So we went to we don't call it honeymoon. We call it post wedding trip. We went to Egypt, which was something which nobody we knew ever did after marriage in 2011, 2012. So we thought that if we can make 24 lakh rupees per annum between the two of us, we'll lead the best life out there.
Out at Egypt or अच्छा इंडिया?
इंडिया में
अच्छा
हमने सोचा था, उस समय शीट बनाई थी हमने
24 लाख
कि 24 लाख की सैलरी अगर हमारी परपेचुटी की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, उस समय की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ,
मिलके
हम लोग मिलकर
हाँ
अगर 24 लाख रुपए साल का कमा रहे होंगे, उस समय हमारी सैलरी थी 12 लाख रुपए दोनों को मिलाकर,
अच्छा
13 लाख रुपए 2011 में. हम लोग दोनों मिलाकर अगर 24 लाख बनाएंगे तो विल लीड 24 लाख प्लस इन्फ्लेशन 5% एवरी ईयर. तो हमने सोचा कि 2016 तक अगर हम 24 लाख बना रहे होंगे तो विल लीड अ वेरी परफेक्ट लाइफ. ये हमने सोचा था उस समय. तो वो तो मतलब खिंच गया वो तो 24 लाख में अभी घर नहीं चलता. तो the thing is that I think that putting an economic outcome is out of question. So to your question on ki when will you hang the boot or what is that we are looking for, what is you're chasing? I think I'm chasing tranquility. I'm chasing that clarity that does not require me to keep hustling on what's going to make it big. And these are orbits. You can get that at 10 million valuation or a 1 million ARR. You can get it at 5 million ARR. You can get it at 10 million ARR. It does not have to be a $1 billion outcome for everyone. It's good to have that, but if you naturally go there, I think that's a better this thing. So what I'm saying is that this constant need to identify ways to become really big is, I think, what consumes a man completely. Which means I don't have time for my kids, I don't have time for my wife, I don't have time for my parents, I don't have time for my hobbies, I don't have time for my self-interest, I don't have time for my self-development, I don't have time for my body. Because it's an all-consuming practice. I am 24/7 thinking about how to make it big. What I'm chasing is to get out of that. That's it.
Good that you brought this topic up. हर टॉपिक पे मेरे को और थोड़ा वो हो रहा है क्योंकि these are very sensitive topic which I also very strongly think about. And 2-3 बार आपने हसलिंग बोला है तो फिर एंड मेरे ख्याल से this whole ये जो नारायण मूर्ति ने एक बीच में स्टेटमेंट मारा था about how many hours you need to work in a week, and then obviously it was blown out of proportion, and then this whole romanticizing of countries who talk about 3 to 4 working days in a week. Now, अब जो लोग बोलते हैं कि यार मतलब इतना हसलिंग क्या जरूरत है, इतना हसलिंग क्या जरूरत है, अब मेरा यही कहना है कि अब फॉर एग्जाम्पल सचिन तेंदुलकर को हसल नहीं लगता होगा कि यार मतलब वो सुबह उठ के ना वो नेट प्रैक्टिस करना है, और फिर उसके बाद विराट कोहली को अब वो, बट ही थिंक्स, ब्रीथ्स एंड लिव्स क्रिकेट.
Absolutely.
सो उसको कभी, बट आउटकम बिकम्स मनी, but that is not the primary motivating factor for him to be doing that.
Absolutely.
अब जो आज की डेट में, अब जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मेरे को लगता नहीं कि मुकेश अंबानी को भी आज की डेट में हसलिंग लगता होगा कि यार मतलब आई हैव टू थिंक अबाउट वर्क ऑल द टाइम. अब इट हैज बिकम सेकेंड नेचर फॉर देम. So according to me, I mean, again, people, the moment you stop liking what you're doing, then even 2 hours a day
Absolutely.
will seem like a hustling for
Anything every day will seem like hustling.
you. Yeah.
अरे जिम नहीं जा पाता हूँ ना मैं, वो हसल है. आधे घंटे की तो एक्सरसाइज करने बोलता है डॉक्टर टू स्टार्ट विथ.
Exactly.
वो मैं रोज नहीं करता ना,
Yeah.
क्योंकि मेरे लिए हसल है वो.
Yeah.
So when I say कि tranquility,
Hmm.
so you see what has happened is when you talk about a achiever like Sachin Tendulkar or whoever that is, they are now not consumed about. I mean, let's take an example of an existing player like Virat Kohli, maybe. Huh?
तिलक वर्मा, चलो वो
I'm
अभी
not
भी.
into cricket, so I don't know that.
अच्छा
but-
ठीक है. Okay.
But the thing is that what I'm trying to say is that there's a level that you achieve, and then you achieve tranquility there in the orbit. So that orbit can be that you are at a Sachin Tendulkar orbit or a Virat Kohli orbit, or it can be a orbit of Mohammad Shami, or it can be an orbit of somebody who is playing at the top of his game in Ranji. To hustle to the next orbit. So I think Gautam Gambhir is not at tranquility with himself because he still sees his level here and Sachin's or Virat's level here. तो वो जो गैप जब तक रहेगा ना, जब तक यू विल नॉट बी एट पीस विद योरसेल्फ. सो इट्स नॉट अबाउट रीचिंग अ सर्टेन लेवल, इट्स अबाउट reaching at a level where you feel comfortable. And so when I say that this hustling, what I mean is that the constant need to hustle throughout is what is a bad way to live life.
Hmm.
You have also hustled,
Hmm.
even for the things that you like, because you have to reach a certain level, which is where you belong. For Sachin to reach his level, he had to hustle. Now that hustle can be likable, not likable, whatever. I don't find it at all, it's effortless for me to wake up in the morning and think about work. But that's what I do.
Hmm. तो आप ऑलरेडी हो ना ट्रैंक्विलिटी में फिर.
No, I'm not at tranquility because I want to reach a level where I don't have to think about these things at a constant level 24/7. It'll be on the back end. For example, I don't think that Roger Federer has to think about his every shot,
Hmm.
or Djokovic, or whoever you want to take the name, now the new kid that's in the block. But they've reached that level where everything happens because of the muscle memory.
Hmm.
So Ambani doesn't have to strategize on everything.
Hmm.
I, on the other hand, cannot give you a straight answer for any business question that you'll ask me today.
Hmm.
Because I have to think about it. I have to plan for it. I have to understand 5 different possible outcomes of that.
Hmm.
To achieve that level of tranquility, it can happen at 1 million ARR, it can happen at 5 million ARR, but it has to happen somewhere.
बट ऐसा तो कोई नंबर ही नहीं डाल सकते आप.
आप डाल सकते हो ना. So I'll tell you where I'm coming from. My first boss when I left Citibank, Anunay Gupta, he was the founder of this company called Market Agent, which I joined after my Citibank stint because I wanted to move to Bangalore and a smaller company. I was fed up at Citibank because of the corporate culture and primarily because of my boss. She didn't like me, I didn't like her, and I moved to Market Agent. And fortunately for me, Anunay used to live in the next apartment to my own apartment at that point of time. And so I used to take free rides with him. He was the CEO of the company. He was like 25 people company at that point of time. And Anurag was 45, 46 at that point of time. And I was, 25. He was 20 years older. and he was, I think, IIT topper, New York Stern MBA, and I think Penn State PhD. He was very well studied, leader in what he was doing. And I used to ask him that, Aruna, look, there's this company called Mu Sigma which is doing amazingly well. They are the biggest daddies of all analytics company in India. Why are we not hustling to get there? He said, I don't know, Varun, why do we need to do that? We will grow to a 100 people team or a 200 people team. We'll do good business. We'll be good for everyone. Why do we need to be a 5,000 people company? He said in the US, the whole US is built on top of small business owners. Not every company has to become an IBM or a Microsoft. There's so many small successful businesses that are making good money for all the people, all the stakeholders in that, for employer, for the employees, everyone. So there is a number where you naturally achieve. So my thesis, my product, and my own personality has a number. There, when I reach there, it'll be just on the orbit. And that has to be reached as quickly as possible. That's my goal. So if you look at Flipkart today, Flipkart has reached that tranquility. It's no more trying to be something else. But when you look at Byju's or an academy, they have not reached that level of tranquility. And so Gaurav Punjal or Mr. Baiju are not at peace with themselves. You might, I mean, leaving aside the recent press coverages or the debacle that has happened in the last 2-3 months, if we're talking about 6 months earlier, people might have called Mr. Baiju as most successful thing, or Gaurav Punjal is one of the most successful entrepreneurs, maybe comparing them to Tendulkar and Virat Kohli. But to my point, they were not at tranquility with their craft or with their business. Mr. Tata is, Mr. Ambani is. So we need to reach there.
सुपर ग्रेट आई मीन पूरा मेरे को एकदम फिलोसफिकल स्पिरिचुअल टाइप का डिस्कशन एकदम लग रहा है मोर देन अ बिजनेस डिस्कशन एनी पार्टिंग थॉट्स आई थिंक आई एम मोर और लेस डन विथ what I wanted to get from this discussion, but any parting thoughts from your end?
Nothing. I mean, I enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise.
And yeah, great. I think I just hope that if you're looking at this, I just hope that none of the things that I've said today become embarrassing 10 years down the line.
मेरे को हमेशा लगता है कि I think you can never look back in your life and then think that यार मतलब काश मैं उस समय हम लोग के पास जितना डेटा पॉइंट अभी है उसके बेसिस पे हम बात कर सकते हैं
Absolutely.
आगे जाके ये नहीं बोले आगे जाके बोले अरे यार 10 साल पहले मैं ये बोल दिया होता तब बट तेरे को तो वो 10 साल के बाद लगा ना so yeah but it was very because it's very good to hear opposite views, right? I mean you can agree, you can beg to differ also,
of course.
but yeah, that's how it is, and I really loved the whole conversation, so thanks a lot for taking our time, and all the very best for Tortoise 2.0. And hope you achieve your tranquilities very soon.
Thanks, Amin. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.